Well, it's a very warm welcome back, all my YouTubers, and thanks once more for joining me, and I hope I find you all fit and well during these troubled times. Now, in this next featured video, this is a clip I posted recently, although at the time I never had all the details on the bike's construction, but thanks to the hard work of Chris Malam, we now know more about this fantastic machine. So please stay tuned for the next few minutes as we take another look round Norbert Van Dun's unique mini Maico twin. Now, Norbert's inspiration to build this machine came after he saw a similar looking bike that was built by former German GP motocross racer Wolfgang Schrader. Now, although rather than try and build a copy of the one that he had seen, Norbert wanted to go that little bit further and build a much better one. Now, here we have the bike's builder. That's Norbert Van Dun, who hails from Belgium, and Norbert has a fantastic collection of very unique Maicos in his workshop. Now, all the frame geometry and the specs for the little Maico twin, like the steering angle, the position of the footrest and the shape of the seat, were all mostly taken from a 1985 KTM. Now, beginning with the frame, which is made from aluminium and was designed and fabricated by Norbert himself, and it was deliberately made to keep the bike looking like a Maico, even although this was a one-off special design. Now, the little alloy square box under the seat is actually not an airbox as such, but cleverly part of the bike's exhaust system, as the two expansion chambers feed into it. Now, the bike swing arm is actually made up of three separate parts, which were formed by Norbert in his own workshop on his metal bending machine. Now, it is of course made of 2mm thick alloy, although Norbert entrusted the welding of the three parts of the swing arm to a local fabrication shop. Now, the swing arm has also been shortened to keep that Maico look. Now, the bike's front forks are genuine Maico items that were used on Maico race bikes from 1969 till about 1974. Now, these though have been made with shorter tubes and have internal springs fitted. Now, the brakes and the hubs are again standard Maico items, although the rear hub is taken from a Maico 125. Now, with regards to wheels, these are both Acront rims with a 17-inch wheel on the front and a 16-inch wheel on the rear, and both the wheels are fitted with Pirelli tyres. But although this is still a special project, it still takes on the look of an old 1970s Maico. But of course, the motor is the star of this particular show. Now, starting with the crankcases, which were handmade by Norbert himself in aluminium and were actually constructed in no fewer than 6 separate parts. Now, the crankshaft itself is actually 2 separate cranks, and although they are connected to each other by a short drive chain, they otherwise run separately from each other. Now, the cranks are from a Sachs 50cc, which has the same stroke as the Maico, and the 2 cylinders have been taken from an MD50 Maico road bike from 1973. Now, if you know your MD50s, you'll know that they had a rotary valve intake system, but Norbert has changed this to 2 twin port reed valves. Now, the reed valves are fed by 2 20mm Dell'Orto carburetors, which have a pair of external foam filters fitted to keep the dust and debris out of the motor. And as I mentioned earlier, this aluminium box, which actually looks like it's the air filter housing, is actually part of the bike's unique exhaust system. Now, the Maico's coffin-shaped fuel tank looks like it's been taken straight from one of the early 1970s Maicos. Although it does look the same, this was another hand-built part made by Norbert to fit his unique machine. He first made a cardboard template and then cut and welded the metal to form it. Although Norbert has a saying that a Maico is not a Maico if it doesn't have a coffin-shaped tank. Now, the bike has a single rear Kayaba monoshock on Norbert's machine with a remote reservoir, and this is taken from a 1985 KTM. Now, also in this shot we can see those twin 20mm Dell'Orto carburetors and their associated reed valves and foam filters. And you can see the rear monoshock's remote reservoir here just underneath the fuel tank. Now, the bike's twin exhaust expansion chambers were again made by Norbert, although he was a bit self-critical, saying that maybe his welding skills were not up to a high enough standard, but nevertheless they still look superb on this little twin. Now, the twin-cylinder motor has two separate ignition systems which Norbert sourced from a British supplier, and these rotate with 180 degrees to each other. Now, other things like the bike's foot pegs are again from a KTM, although many of the bike's smaller bits and pieces were all manufactured by Norbert in-house. But the entire little twin motor is absolutely superbly engineered. Now, the bike's handlebars, levers and cables are basically your off-the-shelf items, although the throttle gasser is custom made by Norbert, although I have to give my apologies here that I never got a real close-up of that particular part on the day that I grabbed these clips. Now, the gearbox on the engine is taken straight out of a 1976 125 Maico, and the clutch operation is hydraulic, which was another item that was manufactured by Norbert in his workshop. Now, the completed bike took Norbert about 4 years to finish, and although as far as I know he's no intention of racing the bike or putting it on a track. Norbert said that he built it really because he needed a smaller bike that he could chuck into his camper van when he went to race meetings, so that he could be first to the bakery in the mornings to get breakfast. So I suppose if you're needing a zippy little pit bike to do your shopping, then I'm sure that this little beauty will get the job done, that's for sure. So I hope you've enjoyed this very brief update on this fantastic Norbert Van Dun Maico Twin. Once again, thanks very much for watching, and we'll speak again very soon. This video was brought to you in association with WorldSport, the world's #1 supplier for all your off-road and leisure sportswear. Just visit their online website for more information.